Hey guys, Landon Huber here, and welcome to another live stream. What you see here is a comic book called The Punctuation Men. And if you check back on the previous streams, you'll see more info of me talking about it. Right now, what I'm going to be drawing is this character. In previous streams, I've drawn all these other characters. I've drawn the period, the apostrophe, Renan Sentance, the evil Frenchman, the hench things, and today, last but not least, I'll be drawing Brad the Lotion Salesman. So I'll keep it right there for now. I got some news today. It's not sad news. It's just some news of what's gonna be happening with me here. And I know I've been promoting online weekly live streams. And but the reality is that something else came up which is more important. So I'm not giving up doing live streams permanently or anything like that, because I think it's kind of the one of the ways that I can, like, one-on-one personally, you know, do something publicly. It's like the most direct contact, to me personally. But I've gotten a YouTube channel with over 150 videos on it, and because of the way that the YouTube algorithm works, it's very hard to get it to think that a drawing stream is very important. So, if people aren't watching the first 5 seconds or something, then YouTube just buries your video. And I know there's a lot of people who do a lot of live drawing content and everything. And at first I was really thinking I was going to do that, um, and do weekly streams all year and then see. But what I've recently come to a decision on is that this is going to be my second to last stream. So I'm going to draw Brad the Lotion Salesman in this stream. Then next stream I'll ink him, and that'll be the last stream for a while. Now, I'll come back in the future at some point, I don't know when, could be months from now. It may be within the year. So this is not a goodbye forever kind of thing, but it is just me letting you know that the weekly live streams are gonna not persist after next week. But on the good side, for those that have been watching, the good news is that the reason for it is because something cooler has made me feel that that's a better way to spend my time. So it's not, at first I think I was starting to live stream because for a while I was just making videos, and I was a little bit afraid to live stream, you know. So it was kind of like a personal thing in a way to, to live stream, because it was a way of me saying to myself, like, that I could do it. It was a way to overcome a fear. And it's important in life to overcome your fears, especially if your fears are getting in the way of you doing things you really want to do in life. And so that's kind of why I started doing the streams also. And also to promote the Punctuation Men, which is a really cool comic, and in time, because of the other ideas I have, you're gonna see it, you know, I'm pretty confident that you're gonna see it, getting more notoriety. Um Now that, I'm not sitting here, like, I'm not gonna sit here and claim, it's gonna be the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's like a 1 in a billion phenomenon, right? But this year there will be a few things happening for sure that are gonna be pretty cool. So I also don't really, want to like sit here and say too much either, because when you talk too much about projects before they've happened, it can, there's like a whole psychology behind it. Like, you've already gotten by talking about it, you've already sort of gotten your reward. So then the hard part of actually doing it becomes uh, less likely that you'll actually do it, kind of thing. So in a way, in a sense, that's why I don't want to talk about it too much. And people say, you got to promote everything on YouTube and all that. And I get it. Like, it's a good way to publicly make what you're doing accessible. But at the same time, because of the way, I'm just gonna be honest with how I feel about this. That because of the way the YouTube algorithm actually works, that and because of the world we live in today, I'm not entirely sure that, you know creating endless content is the best use of my time here. You know, what is the main content is not YouTube videos. The main content is the comics, or the art, or whatever it is that you're actually creating is more important than you know the YouTube videos. Now, if you love doing the videos, you have the time, you have the energy, you have the audience, then okay, then it becomes like more obvious, like, oh well, yeah, that's a good an obvious thing you would do, right, with the time. But when you are like me, it's kind of a bit of like, some days when I do the YouTube videos, I'm just gonna be honest, it kind of zaps my energy for the rest of the day. Like, in a way, like, I feel more difficult to continue on with even though the stream may only be an hour or two. I feel like I'm on like high alert for the stream, and then it seems to actually take my energy away from doing other things. So, I'm not trying to come down on like anybody who wants to do it all the time. And like I said, people who are getting followings and things like that. But I'm just not going to do endless YouTube videos and endless live streams. Like, I have to do everybody has to ass, assess what's important and do the important things, right? But for now, and for when the time comes again, I will for sure make more content videos. Okay, so that's that. I just wanted to sort of say that because that's what's going to happen. Now let's go on to what am I drawing here and what am I thinking about. So this is Brad the Lotion Salesman. And it's not every time, but a lot of times I will start out with a simple, like rough little sketch just to kind of get an idea of where I'm going with it. So I did that before I started this one. If I have it around here, I drew this, and that was enough for me to say, okay, I kind of know where I'm going with this, right? So basically, what he is he's a lotion salesman, and the punctuation, like maybe I'm not the best, even though I'm the creator of the Punctuation Men. Maybe I'm not the best at like actually selling it, you know. The story itself, though, and I should say, there were some other contributors, Ricky Gordon and um, who is the guy I basically created the Punctuation Men with, as far as just like the characters and all that, the basic concept of it. Because and Jared Payne, who actually wrote the script of the first issue and stuff. So, but what the thing with me and Ricky is like we had this crazy energy between the two of us because and it's still indescribable, like when I think back on it. Like I never kind of had the kind of energy with somebody else before, like this back and forth, like just Ricky's energy, it was pretty cool. And I think that's kind of where like a lot of these kind of crazy ideas came from. I don't know whether he'd agree, but we had some kind of a simpatico, like, relationship back in the day, that led to these characters and all this zany ideas, you know? And yeah, so it's pretty cool. And so anyway, in a nutshell, what I'm getting at is like that the Punctuation Men is that kind of a story. It's hilarious, you know? Like the whole premise of it is just so unique and hilarious. But at the same time, because of my love for like nostalgia and you know, I am wanted to infuse this thing with as much of that as I could. Like the like sort of classic comic motifs are all over this thing, you know. And but at the same time, infusing it is this just wacky idea that's just amazing, you know. And in time, people will start to understand that more. But yeah, you know, I'll make more promotional videos and stuff for it. But go back and check out some of the previous videos, and definitely check out the Punctuation Men. It's an awesome comic, which you can find online. Selling bundles on eBay currently. Those are limited. So get them while you can. You know, it is true. Like people never act like in the right moment, right? Like, you know, if people would have known that Superman was going to become this important thing, they would have held on to their Action Comics #1, you know, and preserved him. But then again, maybe that would have actually made it less valuable over time because um, the thing that makes it valuable is the rarity. I would say very confidently that just in a story sense that's the thing that makes this comic book valuable. You know, I mean, yes, we've all seen comics before, and comics is like a two-dimensional medium. It's not like virtual reality being shot through your eye, through your retinas, into your brain directly through a telelink or whatever. And it you know it is an old-fashioned medium to some degree by this point in time. But what makes it so interesting is, you know, it really is the foundational element of like all like this Marvel Cinematic Universe, you know, and all the DC universe and just everything. It's the like, hey kids, you want to see where the stories came from? Well, read the comics, you know. They didn't start out as these like fully realized, you know, multi-million dollar big budget extravaganzas, which to me in some ways it actually has gotten away because you know I'm not like so much of a purist that I'm going to sit here and say, oh, you shouldn't use any, you know, computer effects, blah blah blah, because I really think need to use whatever you can, whatever is available to you to make your ideas come to life, right? And that includes AI at this point. But at the same time, personally, with my own personal art, I do, uh, like I'm not gonna use AI to like draw the comic for me, because I'm old school like that, and but if it can serve another way, like maybe ideation or maybe film trailer, Easter egg, hint hint, then because how many people have the resources at their disposal, of like a Hollywood studio. Now, to the people in the film business, you know, that's yes, I can totally understand the fear of AI, especially if you're in like special effects. But to everybody else who's got ideas, the accessibility is a phenomenal like leap forward. Now, I don't know what it's going to do economically, but just in terms of like you can realize your ideas, right? Like nobody could do that before, like or the specifically with like certain kinds of things, just the magnitude of the effort, labor, cost, and all those things, it made it impossible. You know, so I'm of the opinion that if you can use a tool, and assuming that you are still like the most valuable thing we have as human beings is our ideas and our vision. Yeah, you remove your ideas and your vision, then it isn't creative anymore. Whatever you're doing, then it is just an AI created thing, which you can't stand behind and be proud of. But if you use an AI to help your own ideas as much as you're able to come to fruition, that's something I can get behind. And I'm not, so much of a purist that that I don't see that. But when it comes to my own, like I said, again, I'll say it again, when it comes to my own personal, like drawings and artwork, that's where I pretty much am a purist. So what what kind of environment he's in. So the story of Punctuation Men takes place in a nursing home. So I'm kind of just indicating that's where he is. So that's what these lines up here that I'm drawing are. And you see, like, I could go in and draw, like, for his feet here, I could go in and draw, like, all the detail. But I don't know, I kind of like the way it looks, just white outlines. And so artistically, I can make that decision. Hey, you guys, I'm streaming in here still. Oh, someone's out the door. Hey, can you tell them we're not interested? So sorry. Life. Hey, Bucky. Bucky, stop it. Somebody just came to the door randomly, and now my dog's going crazy, and my wife's out there talking. This is kind of part of what I was getting at earlier of why, like, doing live streams can be difficult. Like, life doesn't stop, you know? Sort of like, Bucky, stop it. Bucky, no. I think it's the salesman. I might have to go out there soon and tell my wife, just to tell him we're not interested. If anybody that has to go door to door to sell, you know, I understand you got to do what you got to do to make a living, right? But at the same time, hey, Bucky, stop it. No. Sorry. My dog will just keep going and going and going. And the strange thing, he only seems to like, I love him. He's a sweet dog, but he only seems to like listen when you kind of, you have to like get a little bit like forceful sometimes. Otherwise, he just won't listen to you. You know, it's the strangest thing. I remember when I was a kid, I was kind of like that. Uh, you know, if mom was there, it was kind of like, well, maybe I can get away with something. But, you know, if dad was home, it was like, well, I better be on my best behavior, you know? Otherwise, I'll be in trouble. So I don't. I'm thinking maybe a little bit of smoke or steam would be cool, you know. I don't want to have too much in the way of visual information, though. Maybe just like because this lotion that he uses is like, it's not just normal lotion. It's like, he like, he creates this stuff in a laboratory, which you'll see in issue 2 when it comes out. Bucky, no. Some people just, this guy is like, I don't know, maybe my wife's interested in what he's selling, but he's been talking for a while now. I don't want to have to go out there and be mean, but about to. Hmm. Well, yeah, that's pretty much Brad the Lotion Salesman. If you can even pay attention to my drawing, you know. Okay. The salesman is gone. Maybe he was a lotion. That's what was the that's what summoned him. I started drawing Brad the lotion salesman, and then a lotion salesman came to my front door. Yeah. Was he selling lotion, Holly? Oh my goodness. Well, never a dull moment. And at Landon Huber Studios, guys. My dog's not done telling this guy what he thinks. So yeah, that's Brad. He's got this European hat that he wears. Now, I will give you guys a little clue. There was another person who this character, Brad the Lotion Salesman, was loosely based on. Loosely. By the time the comic stories got written, of course it became fictional, exaggerated, and all that sort of good stuff. But I had a friend, and he would wear these kind of. He would sometimes. It was kind of a phase, But one day he came to school, and he was like wearing this European hat, which. Uh, no judgments or anything, but it was, I wouldn't say at the time it was exactly the coolest kind of thing to wear, but it was cool though, because the cool thing about Brad, I'll say, was that he didn't care what people thought of him. You know, that was the cool thing about him. Okay, well, the majority of the picture is there. We've been going for 34 minutes. This stream, guys, is probably going to be on the shorter side, but I'm going to go ahead and start refining this drawing a little bit. Okay. I had like a dream that maybe one day I would be like an art teacher in China, you know, like when I'm retired. But in all like reality though, I'm not really sure because I'm not really sure you can teach art. And that comes in, there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with me there, especially people that monetize it. But at the end of the day, like you know, people choose if they want to be an artist. And if you want to be an artist, you do what you have to do to learn how to do it, right? And then it's just years of practice and learning and all those good things. And then you become the artist you were meant to be. Now, a good teacher can certainly set you in a on the right path, give you some good tools, give you some good knowledge. You know, I'm not debating that. But I'm sort of saying like deep down, you know, yes, art principles can be taught, but nobody can sort of hold your hand and make you an artist. If you really want to be an artist, you're gonna be an artist whether somebody's holding your hand or whether nobody gives a rat's behind about you being an artist, which is in this world, you know, more than likely the case, especially in the in the beginning, the early stages, you know. Um, and then who knows what role that AI is going to play. Now AI does have like a certain like ways of thinking, right? When you could argue it doesn't actually create anything new because everything that it's able to create is based on some kind of an input. But then again, you could kind of argue a similar thing with humans. But anyway, humans have something called inspiration, though, where all the little, you know, memories and things that are in you know, floating around in your brain can like come up with like new configurations and stuff. And I don't know, I guess that's what AI does too. So, but I don't know. I'm not really saying anything there, but is saying anything it's gonna make or break. Yeah, so sometimes like some of the stuff I'm doing freehand, I would almost rather not do freehand. Maybe just like a wiggle of some kind. Because sometimes, like when you're creating like comics and stuff, it's actually sometimes kind of cooler not to necessarily try to draw something with all the like realistic details and then translating that into lines, but rather sometimes it looks cooler just to say, okay, yeah, that's a right here. These are like overhead lights. but then not try to draw too much, just kind of put a strange wiggle or crosshatch, and it kind of indicates that that's what that is. And then as human beings, when we see it, we interpret it, as what it is. Like this drawing, when you look at it, because of the intention of what I started with, because it's not just random, that the missing detail, you add it yourself. The human mind is very good at interpreting. Yeah. Well, today was a unique episode, wasn't it? But yeah, guys, this this is gonna be my second to last live stream for the time being, for a little bit. There's 10 live streams. I don't need to do 1,000. Um, that's I've realized is maybe that's a different sort of game than I want to play. I don't think I can win the YouTube algorithm game. I don't have a podcast. Uh, Drawing, watching it requires patience, and I'm more than fully aware, people, unless that you are very interested in drawing, that people are not sitting and watching these whole videos. I mean, I don't either. Like with other artists I like, who have YouTube channels, I don't sit there and watch the whole thing. But I might skim through or listen to pieces, or if I'm drawing, I might listen to more. Um, and that's understandable. We're not all meant to be sort of YouTube personalities. All right, let me show you a cool tool. It's called an electric eraser, and I just got this one. It's a new one, so let's use it. These are really great tools. So everything I'm doing here is just refinement. That's all it is. Most of the idea of the picture is there, and yeah, it's not going to get much more complicated than that, really. I am thinking of coloring all these, but I'm also thinking of keeping the colors somewhat simple too. Um, yeah. Sometimes just like the shape refinement, is kind of the thing. some of these like little shapes that you think aren't important. Actually, they're very important because they guide the eye. And you can see that there's a sort of feeling of lighting. Like that's what these sort of shadow forms that I've drawn in here are. Because I've been drawing long enough to know that that's where that's kind of one of the main areas where a good drawing is either made or broken. You know, it's not about all the details. It's about capturing a sort of overall vibe, an overall feeling of lights and shadows, an overall feeling of shape dynamics. Oh, that's been a kind of an interesting episode today. I had a salesman. I'm drawing a salesman. But the difference is Brad, as I've said before, he is not just a salesman, he's also a scientist. He creates these lotions himself. He's not sort of a secondhand salesman, right? He is kind of like the way that the way that he sells is a little bit similar to the way Punctuation Men started out, which is an independently made comic book and sold sort of hand, hand to hand kind of thing, like through conventions and comic stores. I mean, we didn't go door to door with trying to sell a comic book, but um, but and still now on YouTube, that's what we're doing here. That's what I'm doing. I'm just an he's just another part of me, even though the real character based on me was Period, who was the even though he's the quote unquote silly doofus of the Punctuation Men, he's also the leader. Self-proclaimed. And for some reason the character apostrophe, which is, maybe more like heroic, like, proportions and stuff. He kind of just goes along with it, even though he thinks Period. I don't know why he does. Just they're old friends, I guess, but he just kind of goes along with Period, you know. But Period is bold. And that's why he's the leader. I'm just adding these little indications of age or something, just like little stains or whatever they are. They look cool. It's like the way I imagined the senior citizen care center that they have the showdown in is, it's not like brand new, you know. It's been there for a while. Kind of in the ghetto, or at least in some kind of semi-industrial, like, you know, area of Gramix, city of Gramix, which is where the Punctuation Men story takes place. I've heard some people, like, reviewers, and I appreciate the review, but I don't know. He said he thought it was the story was going to go into more of like a commentary on the uses of modern English or something like that. Uh, and why punctuation is like, I don't see how that would have made. It's like, no, that's not what it is. You know, it's not that kind of a book at all. We're not trying to really teach any, like, let me make a political comment on why speech is used in this way and blah blah blah. You know, it's not what we're doing here. Okay. Well, I kind of feel that this thing is, for the most part, it's ready to ink. More working on it, is that going to make it better? Maybe not. All right. I think I'll refine on it for another 5 minutes or so, and then that'll be the whole show for today, guys. Appreciate, if you've liked this show, if you've liked any of my content, I would sure appreciate all the things that YouTube people ask for. Dropping a like, leaving a comment. So if you could go ahead and just hit that old like button. Say good show. It'd be much appreciated, guys. You can see what I've been drawing with today. It's just an HB pencil, and I don't know that there's really anything better to draw comics with than a HB pencil. It's just soft enough that you can see what you're doing. The hard pencils it's like you can barely see it. Maybe they're good for some people, and maybe that's good for starting, and then the softer pencils will sometimes, you know, they let you lay it down and you can see it clearly, but then the issue is like when you ink it, it starts getting smudgy. But for comics, HB, that's right in that, you know, everybody has their preference, but so this is just what I'm kind of thinking is the HB is kind of right where the sweet spot is. And this is like a large pencil. You see that? It's just a large Faber-Castell HB pencil. You can erase it, softer leads tend to be harder to erase. When it comes to like art, there's a technique that I don't know who exactly developed it, but I know Drew Struzan used it. Maybe he did develop it. But but Steve Rude has used it to make some just incredible pieces. And because I've done oil painting, I've tried gouache, oil painting for like sort of high level refined art. You can't really beat it. Like these, you know, that's for me. It's like if you want to see my like the best I can do, then it's oil paintings. Um, but for like different mediums, kind of help you create sort of different looks and styles, and one should be a little bit of a rim light there. One style that looks cool to me is created by basically you kind of do a drawing to kind of know what you're doing, um, and then you create a watercolor. Then you watercolor it, and then you go over the watercolor with colored pencils, and that starts to kind of refine edges. It helps refine the kind of messiness of watercolor, and then you kind of smooth that out with gouache, like a transparent kind of gouache that kind of. And Steve Rude like describes this method on his channel, and then you basically it's kind of back and forth like that with the colored pencils and gouache until you land at your final piece. And I haven't tried it yet, but I just bought some colored pencils because that's been a medium I haven't done a lot of. But after seeing what he did, that's something I want to experiment with because, man, some of his pieces are just incredible. You know, so it'd be fun to try that out. Well, all right, guys. Thanks for watching the show. This is Brad the Lotion Salesman, a character in a comic called the Punctuation Men. Punctuation Men is an awesome indie comic which you have to read to really fully get the full effect. And I'm selling copies on eBay right now, so check it out. They're also going to be available soon this year. Ingram Spark, I don't know, it takes a while to get things kind of going through them, but they'll be available in a wider availability with like a proper ISBN and all that. And those will be the Punctuation Men Restored Edition. I'm still going to do videos. I'll still do live streams. It's just no promise of weekly live streams after the 10th show. This is the 9th. Thanks for joining me. Spread the word. I love you. And peace out. See you next time. Have a good one, guys.